A few years ago, I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in Oregon. And when you hike the trail long enough, you meet people from all over the world. I met someone from Japan. I met another couple from Australia. I met someone from Ireland. And I met someone from Texas. So I met foreigners from all over the globe. And you also meet some very interesting people. And one person that I met was a woman named Megan. She was in her mid-30s. Had two brown braids on either side of her face with gray streaks in them, and a little knee-high dog named Zoe. I met her underneath a tree. She was shading herself in the heat of the afternoon. It was 93 degrees outside, and she was just waiting for the afternoon sun to kind of cool down a little bit, and she was reading a Steinbeck novel. So we talked a little bit about Mr. Steinbeck, and then I went on down the trail. About 2 hours later, I decided I was going to sit under a tree and wait for the sun to cool down. And as I was sitting there, I heard someone coming, and I heard someone singing. And it wasn't good singing. It was the kind of singing that you might do if you have earbuds in your ear and you don't think anybody else is listening, and you're singing along with your favorite artist. And I looked, and it was Megan. And when she saw me, she blushed and waved and then went on down the trail. And we kind of flip-flopped back and forth like that over the next several days and miles. And one point I was sitting beside a stream with some other hikers, and she was there too, and I asked her how she got to the trailhead, and she said that her father dropped her off at the border between California and Oregon. And in my paternal voice, and probably a little bit condescending, I said, "So how does your father feel about you hiking this trail all by yourself?" And she shot me a dirty look and said, "Well, how does your father feel about you hiking this trail all by yourself?" A few days later, I was sitting beside the trail in the shade on an old gray log, and I was eating my lunch, and here she came again. This time she wasn't singing, but she sat down beside me and decided to share the log. As we were talking, I asked the question that we often ask when we're on the trail, and that is, what do you do when you're not on the trail? And she said, "I'm a sustainable transportation developer and program planner for a small college in Monterey, California." I must have had a kind of a dumb look on my face, because she said it again, only slower this time. And I told her, I said, "I think that's a wonderful thing for you to do, and I'm so glad that you're taking care of this good earth." And she kind of sighed heavily, and she said, "It is what I've dedicated my life to." She said, "There is nothing more important to me than making sure that subsequent generations have a good place to live, and we must take care of this earth." And I said, "I agree, Megan, 100%. The more I asked her about what she did for a living, the more she told me, and I'm telling you, I learned more about the environment that afternoon sitting on that log in that 20 minutes than Al Gore will ever dream of knowing about. But as we talked a little bit more, I said, "You know, Megan, at one point, out in the future sometime, this earth is going to go away. It's not ultimately sustainable, because the universe isn't sustainable." She said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, you know this. You know that all the best minds in the world have said that at some point our sun is going to go supernova, and when it does, it's going to take out the solar system and our galaxy, and it just won't be here anymore, not the way we know it now." And she said, "So are you saying then that I shouldn't spend the rest of my life trying to help to sustain this earth?" I said, "No, I think you should do that. I think it's very important that you do that, because we don't know when that'll happen." And then I said, "Megan, has it ever occurred to you that the reason you are so passionate about sustainable energy and sustainable transportation is because there's something inside of you that wants to be sustained?" She looked at me. And I said, "You know, there's an old Jewish proverb that says, Creator has made all things beautiful and placed eternity into our hearts." I think the reason that you are so passionate about sustaining this earth is because there's something inside of you that wants to go on and on and on. Just like thirst that we experience on this trail proves that there's water out there, And just like the hunger that we experience every day proves that there's food that would satisfy that hunger, I think the ache in you and the passion in you to create a sustainable earth proves that there is transcendence out there. She looked at me and she said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm a soul sustainability consultant and a program developer for a small group of apprentices that gather every week up in Washington to talk about this." And she kind of looked at me funny, and I said, "I'm just messing with you, Megan. But here's what I want you to think about." There's another old Jewish proverb that says something like this: "For Creator so loved the cosmos that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him would not perish, but have everlasting life." For Creator did not send His Son into this world to condemn the world, but that the world through Him might be sustained, renewed, restored. She looked at me and said, "Do you have any extra coffee?" I said, "Yes, I do."